Hey guys, welcome back to Buffering Syndrome. Happy 2018. Our first video of the new year, and so for this one, like I mentioned in the last one, we still have the Captain America arc. We're working on that. We're working on a new segment where we're essentially going to defend bad movies. We'll see where that goes. And there's a few more playthroughs in the works, like I mentioned, GTA and Call of Duty. We'll get to those eventually, probably bring Greg back over. But in the meantime, my top 10 of 2017. So we'll do the 10. There'll be a word from DJ on his favorite. I'll open with some honorable mentions, and for most, there's one honorable mention that doesn't fit this category. But pretty much every movie I'm considering is something I went and saw in theaters. Now I know that excludes a lot. We can break down more Netflix, things like that. But that's just how I built it. I like the theater experience. I'm going to focus on the top 10 movies, my top 10 of 2017 films I saw in theaters. So let's get it kick-started with some honorable mentions. Now, as promised, here are our honorable mentions. It Comes at Night, Alien Covenant, which, if you haven't already noticed, we have a BS breakdown available for it. Check it out. It's really good. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Kong Skull Island, Split, going all the way back to January with M. Night Shyamalan's Return to Glory on that one, Life, and then two that I saw on Netflix. They weren't Netflix originals, but I didn't see them in theaters, but they're still awesome, so I'm throwing them in here. That's Killing Ground and The Devil's Candy. Now, on to the top 10. Alright, so starting off the top 10 of 2017, we're going with a comic book film. We're going with Marvel because, well, I prefer Marvel, but we'll touch on DC later. We're going with Marvel's attempt to snag, the summer ratings, the big summer hit. They succeed to a certain extent with, as I drop it, Spider-Man Homecoming. I think everyone went into this, I think you went into Civil War with apprehension of a Spider-Man that's been rebooted how many times in my lifetime alone. But it worked in the small dose we saw in Civil War. It was a big character. So I think it was a nice change to make him the main focal point. Obviously they went younger, and they didn't do basic origin story, which thank God. So I think all those had their benefits. It's a character a lot of people love, so I know it's a lot of people, they're like, hey, Batman and Spider-Man are my favorite. Yeah, aside from different universes, companies, whatever. But I think they did nice of him being the kid of the group of the Avengers moving forward, trying to find his place between being a student, being a hero, just, trying to be more than just a hero, as he's trying to work with Iron Man, be an Avenger, and then also, spoiler alert, but keep his girlfriend's dad from, hurting people. It was good. It was good. I didn't have my expectations super high for this one just because I was like, alright, it's another reboot. It's, another entry level. My first, with the way Marvel does, they all have multiple entries, and I think with first issues, it's enter with tepid expectations and they'll build from there. So, Spider-Man 2 should be pretty good. Hopefully they don't go Homecoming 2. That's a stupid title, but yeah, all in all, it's great. My parents finally watched it, so it's a great family viewing. Yeah, and it had a lot, if you like the tie-ins, it had a lot of Civil War references, and it had a lot of Tony Stark. So some people say this is a downfall. Some people joke, including myself, that it's actually a fourth Iron Man film. But it's nice. And also one of the best villains in Vulture. He was sort of relatable to a certain extent. He didn't become evil until, he felt like he had no other choice. He was put in a hard spot. So he didn't want to necessarily take over the world, just wanted to make a living for himself and some of his buddies. So yeah, and it did a nice job. And, my favorite part, hinting at the Iron Spider at the end of that, which is pretty cool. You sort of see that suit now in the Infinity War trailer. Before I keep diving in here, we're just going to cut it now, and Spider-Man Homecoming was number 10 on my top 10 of 2017. Alright guys, so I've taken a break from the Flyers game to jump back into this top 10, and we're sitting at number 9. Don't know how I lost count of that, or 2 in, but number 9. First entry in the horror genre for my top 10. Definitely won't be the last. And I'm probably the only one I know with this movie in my top 10. But that's the Belko Experiment. It sucked me in instantly with the trailers, so, I was hyped to go see it opening weekend. And I liked the pure chaos. It went from ordinary to chaotic within 10 minutes. I work in a cubicle now, and not that I'd ever think about murdering my coworkers, but the idea that, I guess mayhem later perfected, but just to go completely crazy, and the only way out was literally playing a game where you had to kill everyone. I like the game aspect that it's a competition, I like, being locked in the building, literally using anything you can find as a weapon. I liked that it wasn't shy about how brutal it was going to be. Like, when people got killed, they got fucked up. Johnny C. McGinley, when he took an axe to the face so many times, there wasn't a face left. And that's always going to stand out. There's some other ones. There's some gunshots. There's the heads exploding when the time runs out. I also think it's rewatchable as hell. It's a quick 90 minutes. So it's definitely going to be in my October, my horror playlists moving forward, my horror marathons. But it sticks out as an under-the-radar gem in my mind. I know it didn't get as big, nationwide or financially, or just the big back into some other horror. It was a good year for horror, so other horror movies got, which we'll get into in the list later. But even one of the honorable mentions, like Split and Life, I think even came out, received more recognition than this movie. But yeah, we'll be diving back into the superhero film shortly. But yeah, for now, number 9, The Belko Experiment. First option of horror for 2017. There's more to come. All right, so we're back with number 8. Back to comic book movies, hero movies, whatever you want to call it. But this one stood out. You can probably already see it, but female-fronted. The movie that restored faith, albeit until Justice League collapsed, for the DC Extended Universe. It was damn near perfect, and that would be Wonder Woman. It was polar opposite of things you had seen previously in the DC EU. There's more vibrant, more color, better characters, to be honest with you. And it was a good origin story that, to be honest, I mean, we've seen the Batman origin story, we've seen the Spider-Man origin story, hell, even Superman. We didn't need, I don't know, we got enough, but it wasn't overkill from things we already knew. So I appreciated that. And World War One, I believe, yeah, it was World War One. It was nice to go back to that time and actually show like even some on the field combat, like when Wonder Woman's walking across the no man's zone with just the shield, the bullets flying. That was awesome. I liked her determination and her spirit. I mean, the entire time convinced she needs to kill Ares to save man, and at the same time still dealing with the fact that man probably doesn't deserve to be saved. She's not wrong. But it was nice to have sort of an upbeat ending, and I know it was mostly told through flashback because obviously she's alive in present day. But it was a change of pace, to be honest with you, from all the dark and gritty. And even though there's plenty of death, obviously a war zone, but I don't know, it sticks with you. And I mean, let's even be honest, the character itself has become a role model for girls and kids everywhere, so it's something to stick with you're moving forward. But it's a little bit of a bummer that they took another step back, DC did, with Justice League. But here there's a Wonder Woman sequel. Here Patty Jenkins is coming back for it. Here all parties are still involved, so hopefully positive thoughts for that one, because by far the best DC character we've seen on film in this adaptation. So there you have it. 7's coming up, but for number 8, Wonder Woman. Alright, and before we jump into number 7, it dawned on me that I was missing one of my honorable mentions. So another Netflix one, just touch on this real quick, The Babysitter. It's a horror, it's got great laughs, it's brutal, it's not a long runtime. I watched it twice when it first dropped on Netflix. It's rewatchable as hell. So yeah, another honorable mention, The Babysitter. Moving on with the list, we're back to comic books, we're back to Marvel. I mean, they kind of dominate cinema anyway. And as you can see here, you probably know where I'm going with this. Don't have a copy of The Dark World anywhere in this house. It was news to me. We found out about 5 minutes ago. But obviously for number 7 of 2017, I'm going with Thor Ragnarok. First thing that comes out is that it's just visually stimulating, stunning, whatever word you want to use. There's just colors everywhere, from being in Asgard to any of the other planets. It's just bright as hell. I mean, there's only 2 scenes that really take place in the world, I think. They're in New York, with Doctor Strange, and it's Ireland or Scotland. It's wife. Oh my god, I'm horrible. I'm forgetting where Odin was sent, but that's the other place. It touched on the sibling rivalry again between Thor and Loki, and added in Hela, the sister, so oddly relatable for DJ and myself, as we have an older sister. So it played on that, and I keep saying again. So there was the idea of wipeout. All of Asgard is essentially destroyed. I mean, all of Thor's friends are murdered in the same scene, honestly. But another draw is that you got Thor, which you didn't see in Civil War. You got a lot of Hulk, both as Hulk and as Banner, which you didn't see any in Civil War. The arena scene is terrific. New comic relief in Korg, who I think will be around moving forward. Jeff Goldblum is the Grandmaster, classic Goldblum. Introduction of Valkyrie, who is pretty badass.
a lot more comedy than some of the other Marvel movies. I think it took some hints of Guardians and Ant-Man and threw in some one-liners or some banters, which really carried the film. It was great because you still got the intensity, because you had the Thor transforming from the Golden Boy to, the Warrior, with the haircut, the face paint, the losing an eye, losing his hammer. But they kept plenty of times in the banter back and forth between characters that the lines were pretty much on point and pretty freaking hilarious. And it did a really nice job of, again, hinting at Infinity War. Like at the very end, we're all on the ship. Where do you want to go? All right, let's go to Earth. And then just the shadow comes over of Thanos' ship. And now we're set up for Infinity War. So, all in all, a very good entry from Marvel. And that is number 7 for my movies of 2017, Thor Ragnarok.
And at number 6, we're back again with comic book movies because, let's face it, they're everywhere. But for this one, we're going to go with probably the realest comic book movie since the Dark Knight series. Honestly, it's probably the most emotional one I've ever seen. It was gritty, hard-hitting, and that, of course, I'm going to have to move, Logan. I mean, we've all grown used to the Wolverine character played by Hugh Jackman throughout, I think, what his debut was in 2001, the first X-Men movie. I think it was cool to see him go out as hardcore, I can't think of a better word, as he did, as brutal. The R rating, I mean, you had the loner idea, the no more mutants, he's kind of just like, fuck it, this is the world, I'm just making ends meet, whatever. But at the same time, you have the side where he's protecting Charles. Who, by the way, Patrick Stewart deserved an Oscar nomination as Charles Xavier for this movie, his crowning achievement in the whole franchise. Going back to the story itself, I mean, I don't think this could have worked, the Old Man Logan storyline, without an R rating. I mean, language being one thing, you can adapt that, but the kills, the sheer brutality, the not giving a fuck about anything, the escape, the Promised Land search, and, I know I said there'd be spoilers, but I'm not getting too much into it, the dealing with death. And then not only dealing with death more than once, and then having to deal with almost that daughter-father relationship literally evolving from the second the film starts throughout, but the way it's done is so perfect. I mean, definitely deserved more Oscar recognition than what it got. I have the noir version, so I gotta check it out in black and white. I feel like it would really work. And it actually plays out as a Western when you think about it, so that's always a bonus. Yeah, so I gotta continue the trend. I do promise that the next handful, this is it for comics. This is the top ranking comic book at number 6. 5 through 1 are not comic book movies, but we'll get to that in a second. Number 6, Logan.
You knew this was coming eventually. Star Wars was eventually going to hit this spot on the countdown, or be on the countdown at some point. It was just a foregone conclusion. But if you've seen our previous videos, you're going to know this is where I'm going to start to contradict myself. We did a 25 films in 25 years back in June or July. And at the time, I'd only been halfway through the year of movies, obviously, and I said I expect Star Wars to be my top movie of 2018. Well, here we are sitting at number 5, and Star Wars is not number 1. I think the key thing is, I mean, I have only seen it once so far, and it started to resonate with me the more I go back and think and see certain clips and things like that. But there wasn't that instant falling in love that I had after watching 7. So I think it needs to grow on me, and I don't know if it'll ever top how 7 made me feel, but it has some redeeming qualities. There was maybe a little bit too much comedy and a little too family-friendly, if that's possible, even though the movie itself, with themes, was really dark. But I think what the movie did a good job of is don't mind as I stretch, it's been a long day. I like Rey's storyline. I like Kylo. I actually liked Kylo a lot more in this one. And that epic battle that the two of them had against Snoke's guards was by far the highlight of the film. It was nice to see Luke in more than just, a snippet like you saw him at 7. Great to see Carrie Fisher, and it will be her last film role. But even Poe being the badass, but the problem with some of Poe's storylines is, you had the argument and internal conflicts, and you wanted to support him, but you weren't sure if he was right, so it kind of frustrated me. But Finn's storyline was almost... It detracted. It took away from certain seriousness until he and Rose were caught thanks to DJ and the First Order, and he had that fight with Phasma. That was cool and very redeeming, but the whole Casino Beach thing, I don't see how it was necessary. So I think given all those things, and given the great movies that we're going to get into in 4 through 1, where the Oscar contenders, at least a couple, are going to start coming into play, I didn't see how I could put it, as much as I wanted to, because I started to argue, especially with Logan and now this, started to argue with what I thought could go where, but I didn't see how Star Wars could go any higher than 5. So feel free to argue with me on that one. But number 5 of 2017 is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. We're on to number 4. That was really dramatic. This is the first of 2 Best Picture Oscar nomination films that are going to be on this list. This one is top 5, if not top 3 war films of all time for me. Granted, I'm not Greg. I think Greg would be better to speak about this, but has he seen them all? But I have a nice touch. That would be Christopher Nolan's masterpiece, Dunkirk. We were hesitant about going to see a war film with a PG-13 rating. While there wasn't an abundance of language, as there really was an abundance of dialogue when you think about it, and there wasn't the gore or the blood you get in most war films, there sure as hell was the intensity. I mean, from the moment, literally from the moment, like when it opens and the papers are falling, and all of a sudden the main character and all, they're getting picked off, like just shots fired. It's loud. But they capture the intensity in almost every scene. Anything in the air, on the boats, on the beach, when the bombs are falling, it's just, there's very little time to breathe. Even in the moments when they are, I think there's a calm. The tension's just there as it builds up to the next, I don't want to say next battle, it's all one battle, but the next back and forth, the next fighting, however you want to word that. But yeah, I also think the lack of dialogue actually helped in deal with the intensity, is that you relied more on the emotions of the actors, and I think that displayed fear, and just the survival skills. And I don't think it was different to see this case because it wasn't a battle on the front lines or strategizing. It was essentially, I mean, it's an evacuation plan, and it's what's left of one day in the war, and it was just a cool take to see obviously the British perspective, but it was new. It was new territory for a World War II movie. It wasn't a retread of anything before, and I really appreciated that. And going back into what I said earlier, the sound. If you didn't see this in theaters, you were missing something, but when you put it on at home, you're going to know gunshots, bombs, the waves, the boat sinking, torpedo, everything is loud. Really loud. And I think that's what you walk away from. Just, it leaves an impression. So, number 4, 2017, Dunkirk. Alright guys, we're up to number 3. If I can do my math, I probably can't. But, it's another part where I contradict myself, as, again, if we go back to the 25 films in 25 years at the time, which was July, my favorite movie of the year so far was Baby Driver. But in the final tally, and rethinking some ones I saw before this, it comes in number 3 in my top 10 of the year. Now let's break that down. If you would be so kind, sir. Hey guys, Greg's here. So first of all, it's Edgar Wright. I mean, he did the Cornetto trilogy and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So really, can you go wrong with anything he does? Transitions, it's just amazing. Use of color was another great thing. It's apparently windier than I thought out here. This movie is a walking soundtrack. I'm not going to start naming artists off the top of my head because I wouldn't do them justice. I don't remember half of them, but I felt relatable. Just the fact I have my iPod in my ears all the time, and so did Baby. Like even when he is driving, he had the music, and it just transitioned. And every scene was moved by the music, and it was done spectacularly. You could see Jamie Foxx go completely psycho. See John Hamm, actually be badass as opposed to Mad Men style. But and most of all, it's all built around the car and sort of the heist, but it's more of the getaway than the heists themselves. And that opening scene, to where it opens with Baby pounding on his steering wheel to the beat of music, to literally losing every cop that's chasing through downtown Atlanta. It's fast paced and it gets your adrenaline going, and it's well worth multiple watches. And so yeah, I'll go with Baby Driver number 3 of 2017. All right, we're up to number 2. That was really loud. Anyway, the second of the Oscar nominated films on this list, Dunkirk, came in at 4, but another Best Picture nominee, and that's Get Out. I did some reevaluating, like I mentioned, and actually began to rank this one ahead of Baby Driver. It has to be for the originality, the genuine, anxiousness and intensity, and just the unease you feel with it. Just the fact that I don't want to say this to pigeonhole it, but it put horror back on the map in the way, no horror's been this recognized when it comes to awards since Silence of the Lambs. So yeah, it can be billed as something other than a horror film, but it is horror. It's also nice to see the race reversals. I mean, again, two white kids talking about this, so...
Yeah, so like, what I thought about the movie was, like, when I was sitting in the chair in the theater and stuff like that, I almost kind of was like cringing the entire time because I didn't like, you know, I'm thinking the entire time, oh, this is going to be a race thing, right? But
I mean,
It's not.
from the second the deer hits the car, first of all, it's a terrifying jump scare. Then, as soon as they got to the house, I remember looking at him, looking at DJ, thinking, "This is bad." I got a horrible feeling.
it's a stereotypical cop.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
just, oh my god.
It's
And it's just, I mean, Chris did not be nominated for what he's done, but just the slow build and then the isolation and then the crazy bloodbath of Act 3, where you literally had descalping and someone getting impaled with a deer head. But I believe you had something to say about a supporting actor.
Rod, the guy who plays Rod, he's my favorite. It had, in like the intense moments, it had its little comedic relief at times, and
That's what you get with Jordan Peele, right?
yeah, right. And I think Rod did that spot on. Made me laugh a lot.
So, I mean, we've now, since it came out in February of last year, already made it through one of my October rotations in horror, and it's going to be in there for, you know, probably forever at this point. It's right in that collection, and it's brilliant. Watch it as much as possible. It doesn't get old. So, yeah, anything else? I mean, I think
I think we did it.
Get Out's number 2 of 2017. And coming up, a word from DJ on his favorite.
What's up, guys? It's DJ. So I decided to jump on this list and talk about my favorite movie of 2017, which was Super Dark Times. It's kind of an under-the-radar thriller. After appearing at film festivals, it only had a selected theater releasing before jumping to streaming services, and most recently Netflix, where I can convince some friends to watch it. But I was excited from the moment I saw this trailer. I think I watched it like 3 or 4 times. And the fact that there was a quote in the trailer comparing it to Donnie Darko being my favorite movie, I knew this was something I had to check out. And the general premise is that this group of high school kids, when messing around with a katana, accidentally kill someone and decide to cover it up, and shit hits the fan in the worst way possible. Fantastic performances all around, great cinematography, awesome shots. If you like movies that take place in the 90s or thrillers in general, I definitely recommend it. Take it away, good sir.
All right, we've arrived. That's why all 3 of us are on camera. Number 1, It. A remake that, in my opinion, exceeds the original. Granted, the original was made for TV. Took some liberties from the book and the previous movie and set it in the 80s, which I think did wonders. And it also leads to the fact that they can make part 2 take place in present day. Usually horror tops my list. And this being the more traditional and obvious of movie villains with Pennywise the Clown, and just the thrill it brought, the chills I got from seeing the initial trailer and not being disappointed in the longer runtime, and just, it had a perfect balance of nostalgia, fun, and just genuine terror. The kids were terrific, the parents were creepy as hell, the town was disturbing. Some grotesque violence, like when, is it Henry? Is that the bully?
Yeah.
When Henry, slaughters his dad, and the deleted scene slaughters his friends. But just all around, so great to watch, and it was well worth the wait and the hype. And guys, chime in.
For me, like, I'm a big fan of like old style movies that they're what do you call that? Not like, you know how we have CGI now,
Yeah.
but back
Practical effects.
props
Practical
and
effects.
stuff
Like The
that.
Thing.
Yeah, exactly. Thing, love that movie. But the old It had a lot of that, especially with the werewolf part.
That's true, I forgot about that.
And that's, I back then for its time was haunting to people. Nowadays, there's just something about like a human body coming out of a fridge all contorted in CGI right in front of your eyes, and it scares the crap out of you. And that was one of my favorite parts.
Not to mention when he actually gnaws Georgie's arm off
Yeah,
coming out of the
that
sewer.
was-
You saw all of it.
or when he
not see
comes
that
out of the screen and his mouth is just like,
In the garage, yeah.
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, going on top of what Greg said, like the TV, the original TV one.
Yeah.
I saw that when I was a kid. It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like I was afraid to go in like basements or bathrooms or whatever. Tim Curry was in my dreams for a while, and not in a good way. But I was really hyped when I saw when I heard that they were making the new one and saw the trailers and all. And yeah, it did not disappoint at all.
You kind of look like Bill with that haircut. Just saying, he kind of looks like Bill.
Can't do the laugh or the eye separation though.
No, it takes talent. But yeah, so there, quick rundown on it. You've seen our honorable mentions, my top 10, with chime in from Greg, DJ's favorite. So leave us some comments. Let us know what you thought. If there's any 2017 movies we missed or haven't seen, or quite frankly we thought sucked, so we didn't mention them. Yeah, let us know. Already a handful of movies I've seen in 2018. I'll throw out Black Panther's an obvious one, Cloverfield Paradox, and The Ritual, all spectacular. But yeah, so hope you enjoyed our countdown, and remember, we all float down here.
You'll float too.